Welcome back, Cowboys Nation and football fans everywhere. What a night it's been in the NFL. We just witnessed one of the most highly anticipated Week 1 matchups in recent memory, a clash between two bitter NFC East rivals, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the instant reaction across the football world is a mixture of shock, frustration, and that old familiar sting of missed opportunities. The final score tells part of the story, a 24-20 loss for the Cowboys, but the details, the flow of this game, and the way it all unraveled paint a much deeper and, frankly, more frustrating picture for Dallas fans who had high hopes coming into this season. This wasn't just a loss, it was a gut punch because the opportunities were there, and key players, including star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, had moments that could have turned the tide, only to watch them slip away at the worst possible times. From the opening kickoff, there was electricity in the air. Both teams came out swinging, knowing exactly what this game meant, not just as a season opener but as an early statement in a division that often comes down to a single game in December. The Cowboys' offense looked sharp at moments, driving with confidence, mixing in power runs and quick timing routes. Dak Prescott seemed in rhythm early, reading the defense well and taking what the Eagles were willing to give. But as the game wore on, that crisp execution started to fade, replaced by hesitation, misreads, and most painfully, dropped passes. And while no single play ever determines a game completely, there were sequences in this one where one conversion, one secure catch, could have rewritten the entire script. Instead, momentum swung the other way, and Philadelphia, as they so often do, capitalized. CeeDee Lamb is the name everyone is talking about tonight, and unfortunately, not for the right reasons. Coming into this season, he's been positioned as the unquestioned number one receiver for this Dallas offense, a dynamic playmaker who can stretch the field, attack soft spots in coverage, and win contested catches. But tonight, under the bright lights of a divisional showdown, Lamb had several moments that simply cannot happen at this level, let alone in a rivalry game with so much on the line. Critical drops on third down stalled drives that had been building momentum. A key second-half drop on a deep shot, perfectly placed by Dak, left points on the field at a moment when Dallas was fighting to retake control. And it wasn't just about statistics, it was about timing, trust, and rhythm. When a quarterback knows he can rely on his top receiver to haul in a big-time throw, it changes the confidence of the whole offense. Tonight, that trust was shaken, and the offense sputtered as a result. Meanwhile, Philadelphia didn't exactly dominate wire to wire. The Eagles had their own struggles. Their offensive line, usually their rock, looked shaky at times, giving up pressures that forced Jalen Hurts into some uncomfortable throws. Their run game, usually so balanced and physical, found resistance against a Dallas front seven that came to play. Micah Parsons was a terror off the edge, once again reminding everyone that he's one of the most disruptive defensive forces in the league. There were moments where Dallas had Hurts and company on their heels. But championship teams, or at least teams built to win tough games, have a way of capitalizing on opponents' mistakes. And that's exactly what the Eagles did tonight. They stayed patient, took advantage of short fields, and in the end, protected a lead long enough to walk out with the victory. The turning point felt like it came late in the third quarter. The Cowboys had the ball, trailing by just a few points, with a chance to seize momentum. Prescott delivered what looked to be a perfect throw down the seam, hitting Lamb in stride with a chance to flip the field and set up a go-ahead score. Instead, the ball hit the turf. The drive stalled. The Eagles answered with a methodical drive of their own, chewing clock and ultimately punching in a touchdown that extended the lead. From there, the Cowboys were chasing, pressing, trying to do too much too quickly, and that's when mistakes tend to multiply. By the time the final whistle blew, Dallas found themselves 4 points short, their first divisional test ending not with a statement of dominance but with a reminder that in this league, the margin for error is razor thin. And this loss stings not just because it's a loss to Philadelphia, but because it feels self-inflicted. The defense held up its end for most of the night. They forced punts, created pressure, and kept the Eagles' explosive plays in check. Dan Quinn's unit, while not perfect, gave this team a chance to win. But football is a complementary game. When one side steps up, the other has to answer. Instead, the offense sputtered at key moments, lacked composure in the clutch, and left points on the board. Missed field position opportunities, conservative play calling at times when aggression was needed, and yes, those crucial drops turned what could have been a statement win into a frustrating defeat. What does this mean for Dallas moving forward? It means they have work to do not just schematically, but mentally. This team came into the season with Super Bowl aspirations, and those aspirations don't disappear because of one loss. But every game in the NFC East is a multiplier. Lose to a rival, and it's not just a loss, it's a head-to-head tiebreaker you may desperately need in December. The Cowboys now find themselves behind Philadelphia right out of the gate, and depending on how Washington and New York fare, this division could quickly become a grind. More importantly, the Cowboys have to find consistency in their passing attack. Lamb has to bounce back and re-establish that trust with Dak. The timing routes, the contested catches, the ability to make plays when the lights are brightest, that's what defines a true number one receiver. He's capable, no doubt about it, but nights like this can linger if not addressed with urgency. And let's talk about Dak Prescott. His stat line will look pedestrian, maybe even solid in spots, but the eye test tells a fuller story. He had command early but seemed to tighten up as the game wore on. Some of that is natural when drives stall and the game becomes tight. Some of that, though, is about needing that signature big game calm, that ability to say, it doesn't matter what's happened, we're about to go win this thing. He didn't turn the ball over recklessly, but he also didn't elevate the offense when it was needed most. Some of that falls on play calling, some on protection, and certainly, some on the receiving core. But in the NFL, the quarterback is always the focal point, fair or not, and Prescott will have to carry this team through adversity if they're going to live up to the expectations that have surrounded them all offseason. The emotional side of this can't be ignored either. This locker room now has to regroup, and quickly. Week 1 losses can spiral if the response is slow. The Cowboys face another tough test next week, and they'll do so with the weight of this one hanging over them. But adversity also creates opportunity. Teams that grow through it, that take the gut punches and respond with urgency, often find themselves sharper, more focused, and more dangerous as the season wears on. Tonight's loss can either be the first crack in the armor or the wake-up call that galvanizes this roster. The next few practices, the next few game plans, and the leadership voices in that locker room will determine which it becomes. For Eagles fans, this is the kind of win that matters. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't dominant, but it was tough, it was disciplined, and it sets the tone early in a division where every edge counts. They now hold a crucial head-to-head advantage and will likely carry the confidence that comes with beating a rival into next week's preparation. For Dallas, the challenge is simple but not easy: clean up the execution, refocus on fundamentals, and find a way to make sure opportunities like the ones missed tonight don't slip away again. Because in games like this, in seasons like this, one dropped ball can echo all the way into January. That's the instant reaction, raw and unfiltered, to a frustrating night for the Dallas Cowboys. A 24-20 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles that feels like it could have, maybe should have gone the other way. The talent is there. The coaching staff is experienced. The goals remain in front of them. But nights like this are the ones you circle back to months later and say, that's where the division tilted. Whether it tilts permanently depends on how the Cowboys respond, starting right now. If you love this kind of deep dive, real-time breakdown of what's happening around the league and with America's team, make sure to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, especially about CeeDee Lamb's night, and what you think needs to change, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a reaction, a breakdown, or a bold prediction as this wild NFL season unfolds.